Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. I've been knocked out by the Fender American Vintage II series. It's a year-by-year recreation of iconic, legendary guitars. This today is going to be the 1957 Stratocaster. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this guitar when we put it on the bench and pull it apart. Of course, we're going to plug it in and play it. We're also giving away an American-made Martin acoustic guitar when we hit 100,000 subscribers. To win that guitar, hit subscribe if you haven't and sign up via Gleam. All that is down below too. All right, beautiful. You can click our link for current finish options and pricing. So let's go pull the strings off and get some measurements before we plug it in. It feels great in the hands already. I love that V-shaped neck. Definitely a standout. Popping that neck out, you can get a look at the raw alder body below. And then here we have a vintage 7¼ inch more pronounced radius, and the adjustable truss rod is down here at the heel of the neck as well. 1.66 inches on the bone nut. Definitely a little thicker, 0.88 inches on this V-shaped maple neck, up to 0.96 inches at the 12th. Alder body, 1.8 inches thick. We got volume, tone, and then you do have a more modern 5-way selector switch, but I can't argue with that. It makes it only more playable. And flipping up the single ply pickguard, you can see the hand-wired pickups. The pickups are absolute knockouts. They sound so good in the Vintage 2 line. Nothing crazy under here, but all hand-wired. Check out that cap there on the 250K CTS pot. We'll flip on the multimeter, get a reading on these pickups. 5/8 in bridge, 5/8 in middle, 5/8 neck. Exactly 8 pounds. Good ring to the guitar unplugged though, for sure, and that neck is super comfortable. My favorite part is plugging this guitar in and playing it. So let's get to work with clean tones. I'll show you dirty tones, and then we'll let it sing behind a track on the other side of the performance demos. I'll give you my raw, honest reaction to playing this guitar along with a final score. So drop a comment as we go, and let's get to work. Super pumped about this one. Great series.
That was a great
I'm gonna go with that, yeah. And I'll just say I couldn't keep the fucking guitar in tune, you know? I couldn't. I don't know why. I wasn't even gonna attempt to use the bar. I wasn't even gonna attempt it. All right, you stuck with me to the end. I'm gonna give you my raw reaction to playing this guitar along with a final score. I based my final score on 3 overall categories. It's gonna be overall playability, overall sound, and overall value. First, let me remind you, are you ready to buy a guitar like this or any other gear? Click to buy using our link. You'll find it pinned in the comments or down below. Thanks for doing that as always. All right, let's talk about this 1957 American Vintage II Stratocaster. I think the pickups sound great across this whole series. I had a little trouble with this guitar. Let's start with playability. In my playing demo, I did not even attempt to use the trem because I had quite a bit of tuning instability with this guitar. I did notice from the factory there were hardly any winds around the top of these peg heads. And actually, in fact, the G string, you can actually see it's actually not wrapped taut around the top at all. It's kind of like floating in space. So I don't know if it just needs different strings or a new string up, but I set this guitar up a bit and I could not get it to stay in tune. And so I have not experienced that with any other guitars in the series, but from a playability standpoint, if I can't trust a guitar to use the trem because I can't keep it in tune without even thinking about using the trem, there's a problem with that. We'll let that be what it is for now. Let me talk about the neck shape. The V shape is comfortable in the hand. With the Nitro and the V, it is a little bit thicker, so it can give you a little bit of a stick. Even now as I kind of run my hand along it, this one in particular has a little bit more of that Nitro stick to it. And the V shape, I know people love that. I don't know if I would choose that, truthfully, after demoing this guitar. I played the 1961 Stratocaster with the rosewood fretboard in the series, and that was like maybe my dream Strat. It just had everything that I wanted. This one has a little bit more of that throwback vintage V shape, a little bit thicker neck, and I probably would choose the 60s over this, but not to say that you might not be a super big fan of the V-shaped, thicker kind of 50s neck. It is what it is there. In terms of playability, I'm gonna have to give this guitar with the inexplainable tuning instability and kind of stick of this thicker neck. I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8.0 on overall playability. When it comes to sound, I have consistently been impressed with the sound of these pickups. Now the 50s pickups, to me, they definitely have a little bit more, they're a little bit brighter, but they're also a little bit more mellow at the same time. They don't have the same get up and go punch. They are vintage Strat pickups. They read in the mid 5s as they're supposed to. And they weren't my favorite in the series, but they weren't bad. Across the board, they've been dialing in these pickups to sound like how these guitars should. So that's impressive. I got nothing really to fault in terms of tone or sound. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 8.8 on overall sound. And then when it comes to value, you can actually, right now, using our link, you can get 10% off Fender for a limited time. So you can just click our link, get 10% off this. That's big savings on a guitar that's $22.99 or $2,300 bucks. It's gonna save you some serious money. It includes that beautiful hard shell case. You're getting all the vintage appointments and the attention to detail in this series. And trust me, it's the closest you're gonna get to a 1957 Stratocaster without having the real thing. And we all know those are super, super expensive. So they did a great job in this series. I gotta tell you the truth, in terms of value, you know, I'm somebody who probably, like I said, would prefer the 60s Strat, but there's not much to fault on value across this series. We'll go ahead and give it a 9.0 on overall value because of the attention to detail and what they're giving you across the board in this series. That's gonna bring us to a final score of 8.6. If I go from my heart, from my gut, I've gotta recommend the 60s. That was an absolutely fantastic Stratocaster. That was the 61 Strat. Ours was in Olympic white. What a beautiful guitar. Great guitars in the series. This one maybe was not my favorite, but if you want that thicker kind of vintage V-shaped neck and all the appointments that come with the 1957 Stratocaster, here it is. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what you think. For Playing Trade Guitars, I'm John. That's Zach behind the camera. See you next time on Playing Trade Guitars. Keep playing. We'll do this again with another guitar from the Vintage II series soon. Oh!